जिंदगी 1170 AM पे वेलकम लिसनर्स, मैं हूं आपके साथ हीरा। शो लेके आए हैं द शाह पीराली लॉ शो, ब्रॉट टू यू बाय शाह पीराली लॉ ग्रुप। Attorney Shah Peerally joins us from now till 11 AM. He is the founder, president and managing attorney of the Shah Peerally Law Group, which is based right here in Newark, California. He is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association as well as the State Bar of California. He is a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action and social services, and he has a strong interest in and knowledge of the political legal system in the US. He formed his law group to work on the causes that he feels most ardently about. The law group focuses on immigration law with an emphasis on employment-based immigration, and he helps the clients all over the US. Listeners, when we say all over US, well, his offices are based in Newark, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. You can pick up the phone and make an appointment with anywhere. His number is 510-742-5887. That's the office number for Attorney Shah Peerally and his team, 510-742-5887. And you can get more information about the practice and what all areas they can help you. The website is peerallylaw.com. That's PEERALLY law.com. So without any further ado, Attorney Shah, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Morning, good morning to all the listeners. Thank you so much for the nice introduction. I apologize for my voice. I have a little bit kind of a weird voice today.
Well, you sound just fine. You sound just fine.
Okay. Perfect.
I'd also like to remind all our listeners that you are invited to call us on the show, on the studio number during the show, and ask any question that you have about your immigration case, anything about employment-based immigration especially, but even if it's not employment-based, इमिग्रेशन का कोई भी सवाल होता है, आप फोन करके बात कर सकते हैं. स्टूडियो लकी लाइन्स खुली हैं. अटॉर्नी शाह हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं. अटॉर्नी शरीफ विल बी जॉइनिंग अस इन अ लिटिल बिट, एंड 11 बजे तक, यानी कि अब से लेके अबाउट 45 मिनट्स यू कैन कॉल अस ऑन द शो एंड आस्क एनी क्वेश्चन. 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170 is the studio number. Yes, Attorney Shah, let's get started.
Yes, today we're going to have Attorney Sharif hopefully in a few minutes with us, but right now before I start, there are a few important announcements. For one, today, of course, before I start anything we're going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. Today, President Biden, of course, hold on his promises, and I really appreciate that. He passed 3 executive orders. For one, now they are going to try their best to allow to reunite the families that were separated under Trump. As you know, all those children who were really mistreated, and what hurts the most, many people have been hurt with that, but still they are going to be they're going to try their best to reunite them. The second most important one also is now immigration will have to treat people more fairly, which was something that was the other way around under Trump. They were kind of getting rewarded not to treat people fairly, but now it's going to be that. And the third one, which is very, very pretty much something that will really affect what is happening all around the world. As you can see, there are a lot of things happening either in India, in Myanmar, and other countries where people are suffering. If they're coming to the United States, now asylum will be back to the way it was before. That means if you deserve it, you're being persecuted for religion or you're being persecuted for your political views, you will be eligible for an asylum. And that's a very important point that we're going to talk about more about asylum probably next week, because this week we're going to talk a little bit about EB1. But now the other thing that a lot of confusion, a lot of people think that Biden has given H-4EAD to everybody. No, it's not to everybody, right? All that Biden has done, as you know, since we put H-4EAD, I say we because I have worked very hard to make this happen too. A lot of people have been fighting to take it away, and Trump was agreeing to take it away, but he didn't actually. But now Biden is saying, no, we're not, because the government has to be the one agreeing to that. Now they're saying, no, we're not taking it away. Actually, we are going to make sure. So they have withdrawn basically the the rule that was on the OMB where they were planning to remove the H4EAD. That's good news also for everybody. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the EB1 category, because this is going to be big coming up in the next few months, because a lot of people are thinking that they will just get things that easy. It won't be that easy. Not everybody is going to get a green card just hanging like that. No, it will be something that you will have to fight for, and a lot of misinformation out there. And I would like to tell people something I know that we have been talking about before, about a lot of people trusting a lot of those fake forums or people on YouTube just talking nonsense. They will just tell you anything. You have to listen to people who are licensed to talk about immigration, first of all.
True.
Because a lot of people, they will tell you things that will get you into more problems, and you don't want that. And I see a lot of people taking advantage because they get paid on YouTube for having viewers. But what's the use of having viewers and then in getting people into more trouble than they are? So it is very important that if you follow a YouTuber, that person has to be a licensed attorney if it is immigration or anything related to the law, because they cannot give legal advices. So be careful on that. So I think, yes, Ira, you had something to...
We have a caller holding on to the line, and we also have Attorney Sharif on the line. So let's get him on.
Okay, perfect. Let me take the caller and then we'll take Sharif. Sharif, just hold on. We'll be with you in a few minutes. So let me take the call.
Hello, you're on air with Attorney Shah Peerally and Attorney Sharif.
Yes.
Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you for taking my question. I think being an illegal immigrant is a blessing in United States compared to, being on H-1B. The reason I'm saying that because, we have been suffering or, regarding the green card backlog because of the country-based system. And I believe, the new bill, which basically I think is in question, which hopefully President Biden has said that, he is going to cover or remove the country-based immigration,
yes.
cap. Do you think it's going to happen in this first 100 days, or is it just a setup just to, because I think, for the longest period,
I don't think it will
this has been the question, and people have been, hit really hard, especially in Indian community, I feel.
Yeah, it's Indian, Chinese, and also Mexican. It's unfortunate. First of all, the first part of your statement is not really true. The truth is that people who are illegal go through a lot of hard time. I'm not saying we should encourage it because it has its own problems. But yes, definitely a lot of people from India. I have been petitioning since almost 10 years now to remove that country condition. If you look online, I have a petition with almost 12,000 signatures on that. Now, the new bill, I don't know. I don't trust this new bill because we have not seen anything coming out of immigration from Congress for almost 15, 16 years. But, yes, now we have Democrats pretty much controlling all the houses. We might see some kind of reduction, but I don't think it will level removing the country condition, because what will happen then, it will give advantage to one country over another. But what they will do, they will probably recapture whatever is left, what has not been used, which will bring probably the waiting time for India to lower. But I don't think it's going to be just flat and everybody is going to get it equal, because that will create a disparate situation over the world. So you will have only one or two countries taking over all the visas, and that will create a lot of problems internally. But what they will probably do, they will recapture all those visas that has not been used, and then they will put it back in the basket, which will bring the days more to very close to current. Okay?
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, yeah, and also, Shah, if there's any way, because we have a lot of people over here, people in the sense who are on H-1B and, who have been waiting for the green card to come, if there's any way we could meet, congressmen or, put it a step forward, please.
No, what we need to do now, we have to do one step at a time. Now we have Biden. Hopefully, we will push for the removal of at least to reduce the time. But at the same time, Biden is doing a lot of things, but he can only do so much through executive order. What we need to do is you have to have people who are genuine and going towards him, because there was a lot of conflict in the Indian community themselves. Some like Biden, some like Trump. And that has created a lot of conflict. So the groups that have supported Biden is a group that needs to be approached to push that. Because the other group was supporting Trump and still are supporting Trump, and those groups are creating a lot of problems. So we have to kind of work in between to make things happen. Okay? But yeah, we need to gather people and to go and have some kind of lobby. But the problem is that even lobbies are not working now. This is a new kind of generation, new way of working things. I think the thing that worked a lot for, especially for H4EAD, I used it, are those petitions. They do work. Then you have the press to help on that. Okay.
Okay, cool. But yeah, if there's something
you and hopefully
we
will see some good stuff coming, but it won't be that this blanket thing like everybody expecting. I don't think so. It will be more like gradually, and it will be reduced gradually. So, for example, you will see EB2 maybe going to 2015, 2016, things like that. But you won't see it suddenly go to 2020 unless some miracle. Okay?
No, makes sense. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Good luck to you. Good luck to you. Okay, so I Attorney Sharif.
Yes, sir. How are you doing? Good morning.
How are you? How's everything going?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Good to hear from you. Last week we were waiting on you, but I think you got stuck, and you couldn't make it. But this week I got you, so we got you very early. So Sharif, tell us what's going on and what do you see coming? And you saw those 3 executive orders that are kind of
going to treat executive orders were a little bit. They weren't as aggressive as we hoped. I think for a lot of people out there, to the caller's point, there's continued frustration for people who, particularly those born in India, of course, China, Mexico, with the kind of discrimination based on birth within a country. And, that, of course, is making it difficult where you may be in a very productive situation, but living on an H-1B and not really seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. So, we're definitely feeling your pain and coming up with innovative ways to overcome that. So as I've said to many people over the years, when you're in America, you're in a place where you have to take initiative and do things yourself. So while meeting with congressmen and lobbying Congress may be something that you do on the community level or societal level, as an attorney representing people who are looking to protect themselves, their families, and their children, what we need to do is think about how we can help your individual case, because there are things that are outside of our control and there are things that are inside of our control. So, the H4EAD process was one where Shah was working very hard to make an impact and change in the national level. And, those efforts are ongoing with respect to country quota. But for the individual that is out there, like our caller, you can spend your time lobbying Congress. You can spend your time meeting with Congress. And I respect that, and I definitely urge you to do that. But at the same time, you need to look at what are the tools available to you right now. Have you gone through and utilized every possible scenario to make your life better using the existing immigration laws? Whether that is, if folks have downgraded using the EB3 to do an adjustment of status so that they could get an EAD, have you looked at the possibility of doing a national interest waiver to maintain your EB2 situation, because you cannot have 2 labors at the same time? So that might be an issue that you've downgraded to EB3 and have missed out if the EB2 line does advance, if, for example, some policy comes into place. So, have you exercised every possible situation to make your life better? That's the question that I would ask yourself. And of course, the biggest way that we've been able to dramatically change life and people's outcome is through the EB1 category, particularly EB1A. So, we've had successful cases just even, in the last 3 months of the Trump administration, which was probably the most difficult adjudication policies that were implemented against us, and we were still able to get folks who, database engineers, database administration, DBAs, we were able to get those guys approved. We were able to get, obviously, people in oil and gas approved. We were able to get people in product creation approved. We were able to get doctors and physicians approved. We were able to get people who work in finance approved. So there's been a wide gambit of people who have been approved in the EB1A just within the last 3 or 4 months. I think now that we see the administrations making a change, and while the executive orders didn't go far enough, they did include important points with respect to how the Department of Homeland Security should treat immigrants, because previously the focus under the Trump administration was all about protecting U.S. workers through the Buy American, Hire American executive orders. Those are, policies that are essentially being rescinded. And if you just read the executive order that came out and the language that it uses to describe immigrants, you'll find that it is very positive. So we can use that kind of narrative when we're looking at an EB1A scenario, because one of the requirements of an EB1A, is actually a requirement that's in the statute, is that one who applies for EB1A, and this is an EB1A category, individuals with extraordinary ability, is that he or she demonstrate that they will prospectively benefit the United States, that they are going to bring about future benefit to the U.S. So I would encourage anyone who is, looking at that scenario to ramp up their efforts in light of the administration change, in light of, Alejandro Mayorkas becoming the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, and the positive impact of all of these situations will result in a more favorable adjudication. So it doesn't mean that somebody who does not qualify will be approved, but it does mean that you have a higher likelihood of being able to meet the requirements. And again, don't necessarily think about or depend on what you hear in forums or what your buddies tell you when you're having a chai or something, but actually consult with a licensed attorney, because there's been so many people that I've helped over the years that have said, everybody said it was impossible. My friend said I'm wasting my time, and that, people are just trying to take my money if I do this. And then, 4 or 5 months later, they're sitting with an approved EB1A, taking a selfie and sending it to me. So, there's just a lot out there that you can do to just improve your personal situation and your family situation. So, everybody knows we're here in the D.C. area. There's plenty of lobbying. There's plenty of, political, situations taking place. But that will happen. It won't happen. Who knows? Okay? But I can guarantee you most of our listeners out there who are working hard, who are supporting their families, who are creating innovative products, who are working in biotech or whatever field you're in, you're not going to make a huge difference. Give your money, give your support, do what you need to do to lobby. But what's more important is think about you, think about your spouse, and think about your children, and what can you directly do to make their lives better.
This is an important part, Sharif. From doing this now almost 17 years, I've seen a lot of lobby groups are just like fake lobby groups. They have been just taking money and taking money. They have not really achieved anything, and I know them since forever, and they get upset when I say that. And unfortunately, sometimes they achieve something halfway, but most of the time they leave off those people contributing, because they don't have to do anything except they take a salary from themselves and then just play a game. So you have to be careful who you're paying to do that. The truth is that there are a lot of people fighting for the right thing, but there are also a lot of people who are just taking advantage of you. So at the end of the day, you have a bird in hand, you're looking for 2 birds in the bush, you might never get those two birds in the bush. So take the bird in hand and run. Otherwise, you might not have anything. And that's basically the message that you are passing. And Sharif, one thing that a lot of people get very, very confused is why do they have to... One thing they don't realize in EB1, you don't have to really be dependent on anybody. Any company to do that, right? So people should know that this is something that they can do in parallel with the EB2 or something like that. So let's talk a little bit about that so that people understand what we are talking about here.
Yeah, an EB1 is one of the two self-petitions that exist in the employment-based U.S. immigration system, which means that you do not need an employer sponsor to file for an EB1A. You can do so without your employer being involved. In fact, I actually think that it is better to file an EB1A without the employer. So you can actually file an EB1A through an employer-sponsored petition. A company like, for example, Cisco, many people from Cisco, we've done their EB1As and had them approved. They will sponsor somebody as an EB1A within the organization. Now, the problem with that is you do not have the same flexibility with respect to collecting and filing the evidence as you do if you were doing so independently or as a self-petitioner. So if you are in a self-petitioner situation, you're not, you could push the envelope a little bit more with the evidence. You can depend on evidence from previous employers. You can take evidence maybe from your history overseas. You can maybe articulate a more aggressive narrative regarding the service that you are rendering for the organization that you're presently employed with, because as many of our callers will know, our listeners will know, is that, when you file for a company-sponsored immigration petition, that will usually be managed through their HR departments and an external company immigration attorney. And they will all be, the HR in particular, they will be very conservative. They will not want to really push too hard on the requirements, whereas if you are doing a self-petition, you can kind of be a little bit more aggressive with the evidence that you present.
But the most important part also, Sharif, is that if in the middle of the application, if you want to quit your job, you leave them, you get a good offer, you don't want to miss on the good offer and then lose the...
Exactly. That's a great point. 100% point.
Because that's where the biggest problem is. They are dependent. EB1 is giving you independency. So take advantage of it. Why would you kind of have to go through to basically, I don't want to quit that job because right now they're filing my case and you're getting this amazing offer on the other side. It is really kind of a situation where people don't realize the advantage of doing the EB1, even the national interest waiver. Like today I spoke to a client, not today, yesterday I spoke to a client, and she had a situation where they promised her they will do her labor certification. And guess what? They keep finding reasons not to find. And one time the reason was good because they had layoff, but the other times they're just kind of delaying her. And ultimately now she has only 6 months on her H-1B and she's stuck. And she might qualify for national trust waiver. I was going to look into that with you, but the truth is that now it's kind of hard even for us to get that national trust waiver on time to extend that H-1B. So why are you going to be dependent on a company? While there's nothing wrong, most people do that. In fact, it is good to have that one and your national trust waiver. So this is one of the things that a lot of people ask me, why do I have to do an EB1, etc., etc. But the truth is that you are in a situation where you're dependent when you're doing it through a labor certification. And since if you're born in India, things are worse because you're stuck. So, and then I want to discuss a little
really
bit about...
quick, just to chime in. What I've noticed is that many of the people out there, particularly those who are on an H-1B, are extremely loyal to the organizations where they work. I mean, they love their companies. They want to do such a great job. They believe in the products that they're creating or the company's mission and initiative. But honestly, your company does not love you back. And they look at, they look at you as a resource. So how are we going to maximize what we're able to get from this resource? So whether it's the immigration attorney who represents the company or the HR, they have the company's interest at heart. They do not have the interest of the employee at heart. To the extent that they're willing to help you, they're willing to help you for their own ends and means. They're not willing to help you for your ends and means. That is why it's very, very important to always consult independently with an attorney, because there may be self-petition options like the EB-1A, like the national interest waiver, that you can benefit from. And talking about changing jobs in the middle of the process, one of the requirements of the EB-1A, this is one that people look over all the time, is that you will continue to work in your field of endeavor. So what does it mean that you'll continue to work in the field of endeavor? When Congress put this into the statute, they were not anticipating that someone will be in the U.S. for 10 years, and then they're going to wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to file an EB-1A petition. They were thinking that the person is going to be working outside of the U.S., so somebody could be working at Tata in India as a mechanical engineer. They're doing great work, beautiful things are being created. They demonstrate that they are going to benefit the U.S. if they are applying for an EB-1A and that they meet sustained acclaim criteria such as commanding a high salary, working in a critical role, and judging the work of others. Now, before they can really be approved, they need to demonstrate that upon arrival or upon entry into the U.S., they are going to continue to work in their field of endeavor. So somebody who's already in the U.S. has been doing so for 7 or 10 years, you also need to demonstrate that you will continue to work in the field of endeavor. And it's almost like an opportunity, because obviously you've already shown that you're working in the U.S. So then what happens is I tell people all the time, hey, why don't you put yourself out there, see what you can gather from other opportunities, and at the same time as you're getting evidence that you'll continue to work in the field, maybe that you don't have to necessarily get offer letters from other organizations, but you can get letters of interest. We are impressed with you, we are willing to meet with you, things of that nature. And what often happens is these companies find that the person who is an EB-1A candidate looking to demonstrate that they will continue to work in the field is actually a very attractive person for their organization, and they end up getting job offers. And people get job offers with much more money than they're making, and they change their jobs as a result of pursuing the EB-1A requirements. So it's a very interesting, life-changing situation that happens, and I've seen it happen so many times. Just the process of meeting the EB-1A requirements will create opportunities and continuing to work in the field, or getting evidence of having a high salary, things of that nature. So you'd be really, really surprised what kind of outcomes manifest when you pursue the EB-1A path.
Exactly, and one of the things that a lot of people, let's talk a little bit about one thing that a lot of people kind of mistakes they do, because every time I tell people, okay, you might qualify for an EB-1A, oh, that's not possible, I don't have a PhD, I don't have publications, my friends told me I couldn't do it. Can you tell us a little bit of, can we kind of bust all those myths, right, that are around the EB-1, because that's really the main obstacle that people don't want to take a chance, because sometimes they feel also disappointed they don't qualify, but at the same time it's just an application. Doesn't mean because you're an EB-1 you're the most amazing person of the world, or vice versa. If you're not an EB-1 you're not the most amazing person of the world, right? So we need to kind of kill a little bit or bust a little bit those myths that we know out there. One of the first one I know is I need a PhD. Tell us a little bit about that, Sharif.
Let me answer it this way. I would say that in order to qualify for an EB1A, to just demystify it or just to get rid of some of those misconceptions, you need to demonstrate that you are at a very high level within your field of endeavor. Now, for most people, particularly those who work in technology, right? Maybe you're a software engineer or a data scientist, you will not need a PhD to be at the very highest level of the field. So there's no point in having the PhD. It does not really help you from an EB1A perspective. In fact, many individuals who have PhDs struggle with EB1A because let's say you're a postdoc researcher and you just completed your PhD and now you're working, at a university making $60,000 or $70,000 salary. Well, you're not going to command a high salary. You may have published work, but you're pretty young in your career, so you're not going to have that many citations. They're not going to be making a major impact on your career. So you're actually going to be in a more of a disadvantage from that perspective. The PhD cases that I like are ones who have a PhD, but they work in private industry. Those folks actually do really well with EB1A because you're showing that you have academic background, but you're actually making product benefits and creating things that are going to advance industry. But those of you who are non-PhD, either master's degree or bachelor's degree, PhD has nothing to do with EB1A because look at the requirements. There's no education requirement in EB1A. There's actually an education requirement in national interest waiver, which requires a master's degree. But if you don't have a master's degree, there's another way to do it. But within EB1A, there is no education requirement. So the absolute answer is you do not need a PhD to file an EB1A, to be successful with EB1A. That is a complete and total falsehood. So I would say that scores, what Pinocchio myth that you need a PhD. You absolutely do not need a PhD. You do not even need publications. This is complete falsehood, and anybody that tells you that has no clue what they're talking about.
Exactly. That's number one, basically, of the myth that we have seen, and people always talk about it when I talk to them in consultations, etc. And just to let people know, this is Attorney Shah Peerally for the Shah Peerally Law Show, and today we have Attorney Sharif, who handles all the EB1 cases, national interest waivers, EB1C, L1A, O visas and E2 visas in the Washington DC office, and we had the privilege to have him today with us to talk a little bit about EB1, but mostly why would you take an EB1 when a lot of people also tell me, my company is already filing my EB2, so I'm good with that. What they don't realize, especially if you're born in India, that EB2 will not give you anything right now, and there's nothing out there that is telling us Biden is just going to open the door to everybody, because he has not really said that. He has said he will reduce the time, but I don't think he will reduce the time completely as people are hoping, because it's going to create a lot of disbalance, because we are talking here about white collar jobs, and white collar jobs are always a competition. And like the previous caller was talking about, he said, people who are legal get a chance. Yeah, they might get a better chance because most of them are manual labor. So this is one of the things that people have to realize. There's an economic point in that. And that's the way things work in a capitalist system. We can't change that so far, but hopefully both sides will get a little bit. But I think the EB1 is the best chance, because those who are coming to the U.S., we know people who have been here for years still struggling, and some people just came, we checked the EB1 6 months, 1 year later, they got a green card. So these are things that people have to know before they just kind of completely ignore the avenues of the EB1. So, Sharif, the other thing that a lot of people always ask me, also publications, because they think no publication means no EB1. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So there are 10 criteria that exist within what's called the sustained acclaim requirement of the EB1A. So under sustained acclaim requirement of EB1A, you need to demonstrate that you have already achieved sustained acclaim that is recognized within your field of endeavor. So I would put it simply, right? Let's say you are creating hardware products, right? Let's say you're an antenna engineer and your job is to create, maybe innovative 5G antennas that are being installed in various locations and to optimize it and to make it safe and what have you. If you go to any major company that's involved in 5G antenna distribution or optimization or creation or whatever, and you sit down for an interview with the chief technology officer of the company, and they say, we have a position for a chief, maybe a product creation expert in our antenna division. And do you think they're going to say to you, Mr. Expert Antenna Engineer, hey, can you tell me how many publications you have so that I know how much of an expert you are in your field? I don't think that that's going to come up in an interview. So why, if we are going to prove an EB1A case, will we even care, or let me put it more bluntly, give a damn about publication? We don't care about publication if you're a hardware engineer. We don't care about publications if you're a software engineer. We don't care about publication if you're an oil and gas engineer. We don't care about publications in any of those scenarios. If you so happen to have publications, good for you. And if they help demonstrate that you are recognized in your field, that is even better. We can use that and put it to your advantage. But in no way, shape, or form is one required to have publications in order to apply for an EB1A.
But I have
our hardware
a question over here, Attorney Sharif, Attorney Shah, when you talk about being successful, when not you talk about, but when people say, okay, there has to be a certain amount of success or, you have to be accomplished. How do you tangibly measure how successful one person is in order to decide if that person is eligible for an EB1A?
Sure, that's a great question. I would say
I think it's a pretty relative measurement, a relative topic. What looks successful to me may not look successful to the person who's deciding whether this person is eligible or not. And the other way around.
You're right, and it is a subjective process. I think that it's not like a Canadian system where you count how many points you have, yes, and that will determine if you have a green card or not. This is very subjective. And the point that I would to your question is, if you are going to measure where you stand within your area of endeavor, the first thing you need to do is determine what exactly is your area of endeavor. What is the field in which you are claiming to be an expert? Define that field. So if I'm going to say I'm, Sharif Silmi, I'm a person of extraordinary ability. Okay, I'm an attorney, so my field is law. Then, I'm going to have to put myself up against Supreme Court justices. I'm going to have to put myself against people who are, attorneys doing multi-billion-dollar litigation. That will be a very difficult case to make. So rather than say that I'm an expert in the field of law, I want to narrow it down. Say, I'm actually an expert in immigration law. Even then, I don't have the experience of Shah Peerally. I don't have the experience of Ira Kurzban. So how can I say that I'm expert in the field of immigration law?
Right.
That's still too broad. Let me narrow it down even further. I'm an expert in the field of employment-based immigration law.
Okay.
Now, within employment-based immigration law, maybe I know how many people are there. Can I narrow it down even further? I'm an expert in the field of self-petition employment law. Now, within that field of self-petition employment law, maybe there's only 50 or 100 attorneys that are there. So when I said my field was law, you know how many people I was competing against? Probably
Millions.
2 million.
Yes.
2 million. Yeah.
Now when I'm saying my field is self-petition, employment-based immigration law, how many people am I competing with?
100.
800?
Okay.
You see, just by we change the narrative. So when somebody tells me I need publication or I need this or I need that, why? For what?
So here you are also addressing
what?
Exactly. Here you're also addressing the original question that Attorney Shah was asking. People feel themselves, they feel that okay, we're not eligible or we don't qualify. So listeners, we always have that kind of confidence issue that we are not good enough for or we don't qualify for this, for maybe EB1A. So let a professional decide. Just now we saw this example of what Attorney Sharif told us that from you take one example and then you change the narrative, you narrow it down so much that you actually are qualified. So if you think you are eligible or you qualify, or if you want to find out if you qualify really, talk to them, talk to a professional, let them deal with it, let them handle it and give you solid advice right now. And on this note, I will also remind everyone, if you need to ask any questions, if you have any questions in your mind about your immigration case, call us right now. Speak to Attorney Shah Peerally, speak to Attorney Sharif on air during the show. Studio number is 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. And if you'd like to speak to them after the show directly, more privately, call them up on their office number 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. The website is peerallylaw.com. Let's continue.
Yeah, and if you have specific questions that are personal, I would suggest doing so after the show.
After the show.
Having a quick introduction call or something like that, because everybody has an individual case and they don't necessarily but of course you're welcome to call in no matter what.
Sure.
The other point I'm going to make to your last point about how people feel about themselves is one issue that I have found with the particularly the H-1B Indian community, and I hate to generalize, but I think this is kind of a compliment, so maybe it's okay, is that you're all overachievers. It's like you hang out with a group and everybody makes, $200,000 and everybody thinks it's normal and everybody thinks, oh, I was working on creating Apple AirPods today and tomorrow I'm going to be working on, the Apple car, and this is all just par for the course. It's not normal. I'm telling you, it's not normal.
This is basic.
I promise you,
that's a good point. It's true. It's not normal, and they think it's normal because
we honestly,
the same people,
we
right?
think it's not so basic. ये तो होना चाहिए. This is it should be there. This is basic. This is bare minimum. But then you say it's not normal. Please tell us more about it.
Exactly. Yeah, we have it too. I mean, I'm originally from Palestine, and my parents are from Jerusalem, and when I bought a building in the city one time, and I was showing my parents on the camera. I said, "Look, I bought a building. It's really nice. It's renovated." And my dad's like, "It's too narrow. What's wrong?" I'm like, "I just bought a building in the city. Why do you?" And he's like, "It's too narrow. It's too. That's how we are. It's like nothing's ever good enough. You always have to do more." So that's something that's, I guess, part of Eastern culture. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think we all going through that, and I think we ask a little bit too much ourselves, but that's why you see the Bay Area are doing so well, and you see pretty much areas where you have concentration of immigrants doing very well, even though sometimes we do bad because we still have our own issues, but in terms of success, yeah, we do. But then the problem becomes, it's like you put a pool of elites, of intelligent people, and those who are a little bit lower, they think they are not good enough. And that creates other issues too, but we're not going to go into that. But you should not be saying, you know what, and basically underestimating yourself just because your other friends have more than you. You might qualify, and they might never want to try anything because they don't feel like if they get denied, they will feel less than they are themselves. No, that's not the point. We are here to get you a green card, not to boost your ego or not to put your ego down. So this is what is important, is to trust yourself. Give it a chance. Let us assess it before we move forward, and that's something that is really, really. I just spoke to a few clients, I think 2 weeks ago. Both of them, one after the other, say the same thing. Say, I don't feel like that. You know, another thing I hear also, it's sad to say, I'm a woman, I don't feel like that. No, it doesn't work this way. You're good, doesn't matter, right?
Could I say something about that? I've tracked this, actually. Women do much, much better in EB1A than men.
Yeah, we're not supposed to say that. You know that.
And I think... No, I'm serious.
No, why? It's a fact. Why are we not supposed to say that? Okay, one more time.
I think the reason why the women are doing better in EB1A, I mean, this is my experience with my clients, is because they're better at gathering the evidence and providing the evidence. Whereas the men seem to either, they think that, well, I've already given you enough evidence, just please submit my case, and I'm in a hurry, and I'm under the... But I find that the women that I've worked with who are highly successful working in the various fields, they will understand the process much better, and they'll be much more aggressive and about gathering the correct evidence.
So the documentation is pretty exhaustive.
Absolutely, okay. They're much better at and again, I'm generalizing, but I'm probably going to get beat up after this call.
You can't say, you better watch out, man. So, no,
I'm with you, right? Okay, I'm with you on that, Attorney Sharif.
We're just basing it on our own experience, right?
Right.
And I can go on and on with that, but definitely, and that's one thing I really kind of always get a little bit... I feel bad because they will tell me, in my family it will look bad. I've never tried because this and that. No, it doesn't work this way. We all go to the school. Everybody get the same education, so you get the same opportunity. And this is America. You have this opportunity. So don't just put yourself down because you feel the culture or whatever you're thinking in your head, you cannot make it. You can, because in fact, Sharif is right. Probably most of our clients are women. So it's kind of amazing that we're saying that, but it's the truth. So don't just let yourself down because you feel like you can't be that good, but you are good. So take advantage of it. There's nothing wrong. In fact, when you get it, your husband will get it, your children will get it. So why will you let that go? And that's pretty much another big issue we face, because we're kind of trying to, ladies and gentlemen, not to offend anybody, we're trying to look at the problems and basically blocking people from moving that one step forward to get the EB1A. And we have identified during all those years now, we've been doing this now with Sharif for almost 5 years now, going on 6 years, and we have seen issues that are really more social problems than the case itself. So we need to tackle that. We need to overcome that so that you can get a chance in America. And right now, Biden is here. We don't know how long we're going to get a good government, because it might shift back to someone like Trump down the road, and you don't want to wait more, right? So Sharif, we have another, I think, Ira, we have another, 5 minutes to go?
Another 6 minutes,
Tell us a little bit more about
let me just say one more point, just to follow up, is that another very successful avenue that I've seen are when the couple, like husband and wife, are working together on their case. And I've even seen where they've met, at university, and they're in the same field or at their jobs, and they're both very, very talented. So sometimes the assessment is like a close call. Which case do we go with? Do we go with, when the couple are both, high performers, they're both, getting great salaries, working, in a creative position or innovative product position. So that's always an interesting scenario as well. So we have to kind of make a judgment call. And then sometimes it's worth submitting both, because you're basically then doubling your chances. So that is one thing that I've seen actually on many occasions. And then when you're working on your EB1A case, note that you're not likely going to come to someone like me and say, okay, here's all of my evidence, here's my, information, here's everything I have, now go, do your magic. That's not how it works. What we're going to do is we're going to work with you to build a case.
We actually have a caller right now. We have a caller.
Sorry, Sharif, we have one caller. Let's take the
Sorry to interrupt. We have a caller. Let's speak to them. Hello, you're on air with Attorney Sharif and Attorney Shah Peerally.
Hi, this is Vishal. I have got one question. I came back from US in 2010, and I have got my 140 approved for my current employer. They're ready to do, once again H1. But is it possible, I travel down on B1, and then there can be adjustment of the status on that to H1?
Are you in India right now?
Yeah. Are you in India?
Yeah, he's in India.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of callers from India lately. Yeah, it is possible, although it's not advisable, because then you will be in violation of INA 214B. Give me a call at the office. We can discuss in more private. 510-742-5887. Let us look at all your other options so that you can come to do your adjustment of status. Don't just jump on the B1, B2, because that can create problems down the road. Okay, although it is possible, it's just not recommended. Okay? Okay.
Okay. I got it.
Give me a call at the office, and then we'll schedule a consultation. We'll go over things with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for calling in. The office number is 510-742-5887. Let's continue. We have about 3 more minutes to go.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, Sharif. Yeah, go ahead, Sharif. I'll let you close. Tell us a little bit about what's going on there, and we can help people on those EB1. And since we have a lot of listeners right now in India, one thing we didn't tell people: you can file your green card while you're sitting in India, and we bring you on a straight green card. That's one thing we never really covered, Sharif. People don't know that, because the dates are almost current. We file your I-140. We don't need an employer. We bring you completely from India without an employer, without even being in the States. You come directly on a green card, right?
Absolutely. And if you take one of the requirements of EB1A, which is that you command a high salary, or one of the criteria, it's always relative to your situation. So it's not like if you're in India, like I gave the example of you're working at Tata Motors, then you're not going to be compared with a salary of working in the United States. Your salary comparison is going to be based on what other people in India make. I would say anyone who is in India right now that's a graduate of IIT and really wants a straightaway green card should contact us and get a consultation, because I have actually we don't lose IIT cases. I mean, most people come out of IIT, and there's probably even other universities. Those ones are, really, really, high achievers and do really, really well. So if you're sitting in India and you really want to apply for a green card straight away, I would definitely look at those options and see whether, we can help you.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Sharif. Thank you so much for being with us today. And this is an interesting point, because now we have listeners pretty much all over the world. I know I have few friends listening in Africa too. The same rule applies for Africa. In fact, even national interest waiver will apply for them, because the EB2 is current. We can bring you straight on a green card. We don't have to go to H1B. We don't have to go to B1. We don't have to go to any of those, I will not say nonsense, but you just come straight. I've done it many times. I've done it for people from Thailand, from Romania, from Pakistan, from Egypt. Bring them straight on green cards. Why do we have to kind of go all over the place? So let us know if you need help. 510-742-5887. Thank you so much, Sharif. I think we're almost done right now, Ara.
Yes, we are at the end of the show. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Attorney Shah Peerally, Attorney Sharif, for being here and imparting so much information. And I will talk to you again next week. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Aristide. Thanks, Shafiq.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. You stay tuned to Radio Zindagi. Remember, you can call Attorney Shah Peerally and Attorney Sharif and their team on the number 510-742-5887. about their practice on the website peerallylaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. This is Zira signing off for now. You stay tuned. Jia.